Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another edition of the Reality TV RHAPpy Hour. My name is Jordan Parhar, and this week I'm here to talk some Survivor Cambodia with you on RHAPasawebsite.com. Today, I am joined by a very good friend of mine. He's somebody who has been through a lot of very similar things as me in my life. We both were super fans of a reality TV show. We both didn't do as well on said reality TV show that we would have liked to have done. One time I went to a meet and greet and I almost ran this person over because I was so excited to see him. It was one of the best days of my life. It's my very good friend from Big Brother Canada 3. It's Johnny Colatruglio, ladies and gentlemen. Johnny, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, JP?
I am doing great. This is awesome. I'm so excited to talk some Survivor. I think that it was a really good episode, and I'm excited to talk about it with you. I think that we had a lot of fun at the Survivor preseason draft. That was the last time. I think that was the last time we actually talked in person. Yeah, so that's
absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but and part of it does really seem like it's a long time ago. So it's good to finally catch up with you. But yeah, I am really excited to have you on, Johnny. I know that you are just as passionate about this show as I am. So this is going to be a really fun one. And I'm excited because we have a lot of stuff to unpack here. But before we get into it, Johnny, why don't you tell, for those of you, because there are some people here that are going to be listening to this and that are going to be watching this that are not familiar with you or with Big Brother Canada 3. So if you want to just tell the audience and the listeners a bit about you and how you started watching Survivor, how long you've been a fan of Survivor, that sort of thing.
All right. Well, so huge reality TV fan, whether it be Big Brother or Survivor, just like JP, super fan of sorts. Survivor has always been one of my favorite shows ever. Started watching right at the very start. I was like 13 years old, 12 years old, and I've seen pretty much every season since. There have been a couple that have been, that I've caught bits and pieces of just because of life and whatnot. But for the most part, I have seen everything. I absolutely love it. The All-Star versions are my favorite. When you bring back returning players, especially some of the greats, you're always going to have a good show. So, I'm ready to talk. This has been a great season so far, an amazing season.
A really good season, and it's awesome because I remember we used to sit around in the Big Brother Canada house and do podcasts about the best Survivor seasons ever, and I think one day we did a draft or a ranking of the top 4 seasons is what we were trying to come up with, and this season wasn't out yet, but this season right now, with where things are going, Johnny, it might be on that scale. It's been so good, so much fun to watch, and I really think it's only going to get better from here. And let's get into it here. Let's talk about some of these returning players that you were talking to, some of these legends of the game that are back, and depending on how you want to look at certain people, maybe not all of them are legends, but a lot of these people are revered by a lot of the fans for just being such awesome personalities and great characters and players of the game. And one of those people that was really hyped up, Johnny, at the start of this season, maybe not as big as your Spencers and your Stephen Fishbachs of the world, but she received a lot of hype nonetheless, and that is Kelly Wigglesworth. And the top story for this episode is that she fell victim to another hashtag blindside. So Kelly Wigglesworth goes home, Johnny, and we saw so little of Kelly on the show this season. We didn't really see a lot of her, yet we heard a lot about the castaways, the people on her tribe, saying, hey, Kelly Wigglesworth is a really big threat to win this game. We saw that at the reward challenge this week. We saw Tasha say, Kelly's friends with everybody. She has a great social game. Yet we didn't really see that on the show. Why do you think that was the case?
I think that with a season with such big personalities, it's hard to sort of showcase people like Kelly who play an amazing social game. I don't doubt that she played a great social game. That's how she did so well back in Borneo in season 1. She nailed the social game. However, we're in a new sort of era of Survivor where those social games are really not, it's important, but it's not the main important piece of the game anymore. Building alliances, and even now the alliance is sort of going out the door now. We're talking more voting blocks on a week-to-week basis, and that's sort of where we're shaping up. And it's really interesting to see because the game is sort of changing. And for people, who are used to playing that cutthroat, let's call it new school Survivor game, it's different. It's different. And Kelly Wigglesworth, I think she played an amazing game for the time she was there. The social thing she had on point. But at the end of the day, she's not up to snuff with some of the players who are adapting to that changing game, like the Spencers, the Tashas, the Fishbachs, etc.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy. It's so exciting, and it's good in a sense that we probably didn't get a ton of her, and that she didn't have to carry the show because it's hard. There's so many people, but I'm with you. The game is evolving. We've seen that. It's super exciting to see this, and that's a really good point that you bring up. I think that the idea that the social game isn't as big of a factor as it might have been back in Survivor Borneo or back in those early days of the game. The social game is incredibly important. And for me, I feel like I'm a huge advocate of that as somebody who was a very social player when I played on when I was on a reality TV show. But I think that in Big Brother, I think that it matters a little bit more because it's more of a marathon. The game is much longer. Survivor is now it's more of a sprint. It's only 39 days. And especially when you have these returning players, these all-star seasons, they've all done it before. It's not their first rodeo, and they get the fact that, hey, we're here to play. We're here to play a game. We got to make moves. It's fast paced. It's quick, and you want to, as Joe said, you want to make moves before you get got. That's essentially what you want to do.
But I mean, these people know each other already, so there's already some relationships there. For some of them, they've met each other here and there, I'm sure, with Survivor events. And I mean, so they're already a leg up on your typical Survivor season where you're just getting to know the people. You're starting to form alliances and trust and get to know them. You don't have to do that as much. And I mean, this new school version of Survivor, you look at the Tashas and the Spencers, they come and they play hard from day one. They don't need to get to know you. They just need to know you enough to get through that next tribal council. And that's all that they really need trust-wise. And we're really seeing that manifest itself in this Survivor. The social is very important. Don't. I'm not saying it's not, but it's. I'm seeing that it's not the be all end all in this particular season with this group of people.
Yeah, and I think that maybe it's just it can't be everything. Whereas before, your game could be okay. It's all social and that's it, and there's not a lot of strategy there. But no, social game matters, but you got to have that strategy there. And somebody like Kelly Wigglesworth, who just doesn't have that strategy bone in her, it's just not going to work out for her, and you're not going to win the game if that's the style you're playing. And it's unfortunate. It sucks because Kelly Wigglesworth is a really nice lady. She seems pretty cool, but for this new type of Survivor, I just don't think it really works. And let's talk about that as well, Johnny. I want to ask you something else in terms of just looking at Kelly Wigglesworth from the start of Survivor when she first got cast on the show. And then we look at her now and we look at the types of people that are on this show. Do you think that the strategy thing, do you think that the reason why Kelly Wigglesworth was just so behind the eight ball this entire time, at least in terms of how we viewed her, do you think it's because Lynn Spillman and casting, just the casting of the show was completely different back in Survivor Borneo than it is today?
Yeah, I really think it is. I think the game has changed so much. Back then, it was a social experiment. She was the first person to ever play Survivor and to be the runner-up nonetheless. Alliances, they didn't even exist. No one even knew what those meant at the time. So I think she's behind on the eight ball because there are so many big characters now. There is now, an archetype of a character that fits into these reality TV shows and Survivor. And those people are the game players, the strategists that are there to play the game. And I just don't think Kelly had that in her. I think it was you that actually said the last time we talked about this, that in one of her preseason interviews, she said she was going to go in and she wasn't going to make any alliances. And she was going to go, that's how she planned to play the game. And that's pretty foolish if you ask me, because that worked in early days of Survivor, maybe in those first 3 or 4 seasons. But you know what? The game has evolved so much, and you need to leverage those alliances, voting blocks, whatever you want to call them, in order to move yourself forward in the game. And she just never seemed to have that piece in her game. It's great to have the social piece, and that will carry you to the jury like it did for her. But, that's as far as it's going to get you in this new school game of Survivor.
For sure. And I think maybe if she were to develop that strategic mindset, I should say, if she were to develop that, I think she would be an excellent player, super dominant, because if you're before the merge, you are never going to vote out Kelly Wigglesworth, especially if she's very nice and if she's good in the challenges, hard worker around camp. That person is never going to get voted out before that. But again, just the strategy wasn't there for her. And let's talk about, before we get into it, I saw a comment from Edward Morris in the chat. He said, the game is afoot, as Tarzan said in Survivor One World. And that reminds me, I didn't say it at the top of the show. We are live here on Blab, so we are taking your questions. So if you want to ask us a question, feel free to leave it in the chat. And also, we're going to be taking your video calls towards the end of the show. So that should be really interesting. And hopefully that'll be fun. We get some chat with you guys. That should be good. And it looks like I have lost Johnny. So Johnny is not here right now. I think he popped right back in. So let's see. Johnny is going to hop right back in.
I'm back.
Johnny is back. Okay. So let's talk about the main person, or the main people, I should say, that orchestrated this big move in the episode, because the Kelly Wigglesworth thing was not something that I really saw coming. Johnny, I imagine you didn't see it coming either.
No, not at all.
No, right? I thought that she would be a final three GOAT type of person that people would just drag to the end, again, because she's likable and because she's a hard worker, all those sorts of things. But alas, they got rid of her. They viewed her as a threat I guess because they saw different things than we were seeing. But this move really came at the hands of Stephen Fishbach, and he really shined in this episode, Johnny. And it was funny. We did a Survivor preseason draft. It was yourself, me, Sarah Hanlon, and Kevin Martin. And Stephen Fishbach was the first overall pick by Sarah Hanlon, and we were making fun of Sarah the first week after that premiere episode in our little group chat, saying, oh my, Sarah, why did you pick Stephen Fishbach? But now things are looking really good for Stephen. But Johnny, we'll dive more into Stephen in a little bit, but what was your take on this decision by Stephen, Jeremy, and Spencer to jump from that big alliance of 8 to come over to this Witches alliance of 3, which consists of Sierra, Kelly Wentworth, and Abby Maria?
I think this is a big strategic move on Fishbach's part. I think it needed to be done. I think you need to take out some of these well-liked people. It's unfortunate that it couldn't be Joe. I think had the immunity not gone to him that week, it would have been a different story. Joe would have been the one going home on a blindside. Maybe not a blindside. I think he knows it's coming. I think he knows if he can't win immunity, he's going home. And I really, truly believe that that's what's going to happen to him. He is such a physical threat. And Fishbach knows that. Fishbach lost a season to someone who was essentially that golden boy that took it from him. And so he knows he has to get rid of that person. And, Kelly Wigglesworth, same kind of idea. She's a physical threat in challenges. She was one of the top women, that's for sure, athleticism wise or whatever. But, when it came down to it, she's really well liked. And that's dangerous in the game of Survivor, especially if you make it towards the end game when, you've got people who are stabbing each other in the back. And, a bitter jury can very much come into play. We saw it with the first All-Star season with Amber winning over Rob on a bitter jury. That it's very important. So important to get rid of someone like Wigglesworth. A big move on Fishbach's part. I don't think it's the last time we're going to see it happen. And I don't think he's going to stick with this Witches alliance for very long. I think, like he said, this is a voting block thing. And this voting block got him through a week. It might maybe go into the next, but I cannot see it going that much longer. I don't know if he can work with people like Abby Maria, who is a firecracker. And if you look at her the wrong way, she's going to, be up one side and down the other side. Sierra, though, is an impressive player. Big hopes for her going into the game. She was ruthless the first time around, willing to cut her own mother. So I'm enjoying watching her play. She's putting it out there at Tribals. I love it. I would love to see her leveraged into another alliance, maybe without Abby Maria, maybe without big people. Like Jeremy is going to win this game if they don't hurry up and take care of him. And now with the 2 immunity idols in his pocket, this guy is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Like Fishbach, he doesn't know about the idols, but he needs to start thinking, like, can I beat a guy like Jeremy at the end? And I think he needs to change it up, and these voting blocks are going to have to change from week to week if he's going to he's going to make that dash to the end.
And that's what's really exciting about this season is you're right. He's going to have to do something in order to, I mean, at least that's how I view it. That's how you're viewing it. I think everyone is seeing, okay, well, yeah, Steven is looking really good, but Jeremy's looking really good right now too. And together, both of them, it's going to be interesting. Are they going to turn on each other, or are they going to work together, have a similar situation to what Steven had in Survivor Tocantins, in which he's sitting next to somebody who is a huge threat to win, because that's exactly what happened to him last time. And we saw last week that he said that Joe was his Moby Dick, and that he was his great white whale that he was trying to take down. He just, time and time again, his plans were thwarted. But Jeremy, I think, might be more of that Moby Dick, because Jeremy is somebody, if he's not careful, because Jeremy is somebody who's really threatening, and somebody that is certainly a threat to win, especially after we saw with the two immunity idols, which we'll get into in a little bit later, Johnny. But let's talk about this idea. And you mentioned that you don't think that Steven necessarily is going to work with the three witches next week. And in his pitch to Spencer and Jeremy, he said that, oh, well, this is a game of voting blocks, and this is just for 1 week, and alliances aren't a long-term thing. And in trying to convince them to flip, he said, we're Tribe of 11, we're 3, we're on the bottom. And based on his confessionals, to me, it seems like Steven genuinely seemed to believe that. How do you think Steven came to this conclusion, Johnny? Because he was on the right side of every vote. Well, every vote he's been on so far in the game, he's been on the right side of it. So how has he come to this conclusion, do you think?
I mean, I think he knows that his name is out there, with Savage bringing his name up, and, with him putting Joe in his targets, and then getting back to Joe, he knows he's in a lot of trouble because, his name's out there. He's playing the game. They all know he's playing the game, and they know he's a master strategist. For me, the telling thing is, like you said in his confessionals, he is worried. And for me, his face at this past tribal council said it all for me. This guy was shitting his pants, basically sitting there at Tribal, and he was worried. I think he knew what the outcome was going to be, but you could see the fear all over his face, and they were freezing to death nonetheless because it was pouring. But I mean, he's not on the bottom. I cannot foresee Steven on the bottom. He can move around with enough people that he should still be okay. And even the fact that they wanted to target him, and then all of a sudden people were like, oh no, we don't want to get rid of him right now, just goes to show that he's got people sort of all over the place that's willing to go to bat with him. I really hope he realizes that. I really hope, and I think he does. I think deep down he knows he's in a good position. But, it's nice to see the vulnerable side of Fishbach. The tears is something I enjoy seeing from him. It's a different element to him that is interesting to watch. And he's such a super fan like you and I. So, you got to love to root for a super fan, right? Someone who knows the game inside and out. And I mean, he blows us both out of the water when it comes to, that kind of thing. So I love the guy. Love the guy to the pieces. And I think he's going to do well. The witches, I just don't necessarily know. Sierra's playing the same sort of game where she knows that if it's not in her benefit this week to vote with Fishbach, and it makes more sense for the three of them to float elsewhere, she'll take her witches and they'll move on to the next voting block to vote the way it goes. And so he needs to be careful of that. And I think he's not going to fall into that trap. I think.
Yeah, we'll see. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
Anything could happen. Let's talk about the voting blocks, Johnny, that you're talking about. What do we think is the difference between a voting block and an alliance? Because we've heard lots of things being thrown around this week. It seems like Steven is the one who coined this term, but this is something that we're seeing an evolution of the game right now. So what is the difference? What makes a voting block different than an alliance, Johnny?
Well, I think an alliance is a core group of people that have an agreement to work together to the end, or as far as you can go possible. Where I think on the flip side, a voting block is truly for that round that you're playing, for that particular 3-day cycle of Survivor. And I think that a voting block can only be good for 3 days. And then by the next tribal council, you might have a new voting block to work with. That's, I think, what the core difference between the two is. We've seen alliances who carry through and stay together and then have to turn on each other. That's when you're looking at your core within an alliance. But you don't see that with a voting block. A voting block is literally a group of people working together for a common goal, for 2 days or for one vote, and then you move on. And I think that that's the way to play a game with people who have all played before. You need to do the voting block angle. And I think in reality TV in general, we're going to see a shift towards that. I don't know necessarily if alliances are going to work anymore with people who have watched 30 seasons and however many of Big Brother, Canada and US. It's just not going to work anymore. And I think that that's what we're going to see reality TV evolve in that direction.
Interesting. See, for me, I feel like I agree with you in that the voting blocks thing, in terms of an all-star season in which people know each other going in, they have these pre-existing relationships, they know these people, they know what these people are like. They've seen their resume, they've seen them play these games, they've talked to them. Whereas in an all new player season, I feel like it's harder to get that sort of thing. I think that certain people for sure are going to have that mindset. And I think that's more of maybe a Big Brother type of mindset than it is a Survivor type of mindset. But I feel like it's hard for people for everybody to be thinking this way. And even if we look at this All-Star season right now, this is a Survivor Second Chance. Really, we've got Stephen Fishbach thinking like this. Sierra and the Witches are open to this sort of thing. But your Kimmys, your Keiths, your Kelly Wigglesworths, those people aren't necessarily, maybe even Tasha, really, because we heard at Tribal Council today or this week, Tasha said, well, Jeff, the voting blocks, they don't matter as long as the one that has the strongest alliance, that's going to take you to the end and that has the most trust. So even Tasha doesn't seem to be fully on board with this concept. So for me, I don't know, Johnny, don't you think that it's going to be hard in reality TV in general for this to become a staple when at least in seasons where it's all new players?
I don't know. I think that we need to do things to keep reality TV fresh. And I mean, you look at this season of Survivor with all of the tribe change-ups. I mean, I think we're going to see these twists coming that are just going to shake the game up. We are getting so used to the same old. And to keep these seasons fresh, they've got to do something different. And it's in these forms of shakeups and twists that they're going to do it in. Gone are the days of just a basic Survivor. We're never going to see that again. And we're never going to see a Big Brother like that again. At least I don't believe that. And I think that players who can adapt to the changing game and be flexible are the ones who are going to do well. And I think to do that, an alliance just doesn't make sense. An alliance is hard to survive twists and turns that might come along the way, tribe change-ups. And because of that, a voting block makes more sense. Now, whether this is going to take off from this point forward, I don't know. That's my gut is telling me that that's where we have to go to keep reality TV fresh and interesting. And I think people like you and I who sit on our couches and watch, who eventually can make TV and be on their favorite shows. I mean, it happens. I think those people, if they go in with that mindset, they're going to be able to play the game with the twists and turns better than maybe someone like you and I when we encountered a bunch of twists and turns along the road. So,
yeah, I think that's great advice. And I think for anybody listening to this who knows, maybe you will end up on one of these shows. That is something for sure that you need to keep in mind of, because for guys like Johnny and I, we didn't really have that mindset when we were in the game. Beforehand, I think we probably both had that mindset. But once we started playing, we kind of lost that a little bit. And had we stayed focused on that concept, I think it would have ended differently for the both of us. And I think for a lot of people on these shows, that is something in which that's a way in which they go wrong, is that they get into these alliances. They say, I'm loyal to, whether it's 5 people or 1 person that they're loyal to. They say, okay, this is it. I'm with this person, ride or die. It's going to happen. I can maybe flip flop a little bit here and there, but beyond that, I'm good. No, I don't really think that works. You've got to be open week to week to be flipping things. And it's tough. It's tough because
Absolutely.
It's a social game, right?
Absolutely.
You have these relationships with these people and it's hard to turn your back on them. But I really think that is the best way to go. And hopefully we will see this for sure on more of these shows. I'm just a little hesitant because I feel like we're at some point we're going to see more. I mean, we're kind of in a golden age of Survivor and even Big Brother too, in which a lot of these people that are cast on the show are not recruits. These are people that applied to be on the show, that are big fans of the show, that actually get on the show and they make big moves because they've seen this game be played out, if it's for Survivor, 30 times, or if it's Big Brother, well, if you count Canada, 20 times. I mean, that's huge. Whereas these recruits, they haven't seen that. They've only seen maybe 1 or 2 seasons. They just think, okay, well, I'm going to get an alliance with this person. I'm going to roll with it. And that's what it is. So who knows what's going to happen, but it's really interesting. And I hope that I hope this evolution continues, because for us fans and viewers at home, I think it would be great. I think that it's this season already. I mean, there are 10 people left, Johnny, and I wouldn't be shocked at anybody winning at this point, really.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
Maybe Keith Nail, but everyone else, I mean, everybody's got a shot. Anybody could go home next week. I have no clue what is going to happen, and that is what is so great about this season. I just really can't wait. And we lost Johnny again, so Johnny's going to hop on in a sec. But yeah, it's just great. I'm really, really excited. Tyler Kakuno says in the chat, I bet the Chop Shop could beat out voting blocks. Oh, Tyler Kakuno, that's amazing. If I could give you props right now, I think that's hilarious. Edward Morris says, ask the Jinja Ninja. Yeah, I agree. So we lost Johnny again. Johnny hopefully will be back on in a sec. But yeah, it's really great, guys. It's really exciting to see this in Survivor moving forward, and we'll see season 31 filmed before Survivor Second Chance aired. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing this type of gameplay next season, but if we're coming up to next year, the next calendar year, 2016, next fall, I do think that there certainly is a chance that we are going to see this type of gameplay a little bit more. And I think that is a really great thing for all of us fans, because at the end of the day, we want to see a show that is unpredictable, that we have no idea in what's going to happen. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It really is. Okay. Oh, hold on. Looks like Johnny is going to hop right back on.
I'm back.
Johnny is back. Okay. So sorry about that, Johnny. Okay. Let's talk about, we were talking about the 10 people left in the game now, Johnny, and how it's unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. So there's 10 left. We've got these voting blocks. Or that are all over the place. And because they're floating, we don't even know what is really going to unfold with these things. We just know we've got 10 people. We've got the three of the Witches Coven, as Kimmy Kappenberg coined them. I personally prefer the three Amigas, but we'll go with it. It's Kelly Wentworth, Abby Maria, Sierra. Then we have Steven, Joe, and Spencer. It seems like those guys are together. And then we kind of have this mishmash at the end, which is Tasha, Kimmy Kappenberg, Keith, and Joe. So I feel like it's going to probably be 7-on-3 or 6-on-4 in some aspect or another. I mean, it has to be. That's how it's going to work. I feel like they're going to come together in some aspect. And you said that you don't think that necessarily, at least, that Steven and his crew are going to go back and vote with the witches this next tribal council. So if that is the case, if Steven has to go back to the beach and it's raining, it's miserable, and it really was miserable. I mean, this looks like it could be one of the worst nights in the history of Survivor. It's looking like the night in which the Saboga tribe built Rupert's shelter, which was dug in the ground. It was
flooded. That was such a great moment.
It really was. I mean, we're not going to be having any disastrous shelters like that one to make fun of as this is happening in the next episode. But alas, they are probably going to be very miserable. So if you are Steven right now, Johnny, what would you do to try to do damage control and win back those 4 that you just blindsided? Because if I am them right now, I'm pretty pissed off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Joe's a lost cause. Stephen Fishbach trying to work things out with Joe is just never going to happen. He knows, Joe knows, and Fishbach knows that that's never going to work out. However, there are some people who he does need to go back to. Kimmy, Keith. These are important votes of people who kind of sit in the middle that are kind of not really on anyone's sort of radar. And those votes are very important. And I think that he needs to go back and smooth things over with people like that, with Tasha as well. That's a big one. Tasha's now going to have her ass is chapped after that last tribal council, and she's going to be mad, and she's going to be ready to play. And we know Tasha knows how to play the game. So that's someone he needs to go to and say, listen, here's what's up. And I think that that's his best move. He's got to smooth over those people that he's pissed off now. And at the same time, he needs to make the witches, the three amigos, still think that he's with them. And he needs to still be good with Jeremy and Spencer, too. He's really got to play that in the middle of game. And that's a hard game to play. And I mean, you know that, JP, yourself. So
Indeed, it is a very hard game to play. Eventually, it does catch up with you. Although in Survivor, it's a shorter game. So
it is.
You can pull it off, and it has happened before. And we heard this week on Survivor Know-It-Alls. Josh Wiggler and Rob Sesternino were talking about how Steven is kind of taking some plays out of the Tony Velakos playbook.
Absolutely.
Flipping back and forth and screwing over his alliance, and then coming back after the tribal council saying, look, guys, I know I had to do that vote, but I'm sorry, we're not going to do that again, and we're going to flip back the next vote. And they would go and listen to him. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. I just think that with Tasha, I don't know if she's going to be willing to work with Steven again, because we saw on that season, Survivor Cagayan, Tasha hated Tony. And maybe, I don't know if that had to do with him flipping or just Tony's personality or what it was, but she really was not a fan of that type of gameplay and constantly getting blindsided and that sort of thing. So I'm not quite too sure where she's coming from next. If you're Tasha, what do you do next if you're in her spot? Because she's in a rough spot, Johnny. She really is.
She is. She's at the bottom now. Tasha's smart. She knows what's up, and she knows that she's going to have to adapt. She may not like that gameplay of flipping back and forth, but she's going to realize very quickly that that's what's going to be key for her to continue moving on the game. And I truly believe she will bounce back from this. Not that because she was my first draft pick or anything like that. However, I do think she has it in her, and I think she will bounce back, and she will position herself in a way that's going to work for her. There are big people left that still need to be targeted, and someone like a Tasha can be the person behind that, can help rally the votes behind getting rid of a Joe, getting rid of possibly a Jeremy, or even a Spencer. You know, these are big people that are playing the game really well. And I think she knows that she needs to go against these people, and she will. I truly believe she will.
Another person, too, she could rally the troops to get rid of is Stephen Fishbach. Because
yes, absolutely.
Right? Because
absolutely.
Now, I mean, he really put himself at the forefront of everyone's minds with that move that really he orchestrated. And also, Johnny, he received this advantage in the last episode. And I tweeted out that Steven beating Spencer Bledsoe in that race to get to the buoy was a bigger upset than Holly Holm beating Ronda Rousey this past weekend. I don't know, for those of you who follow UFC, you understand what I just said, but it was crazy. It was so nuts that Steven beat Spencer, gets this advantage, but now he's got it, but everyone knows he has it, Johnny. It's not like a hidden immunity idol.
No, but no one knows what it is. That's the thing that's so important here. And this is an advantage unlike any other in reality TV history. You get to steal someone's vote and cast a second one. And in a game where voting blocks are so critical and we've got these close votes happening, that's a game changer in itself. And it is in the right person's hands to do something that is going to blow the viewers' minds away. And Steven will do that. He will do what needs to be done, and he will take out a big player with this advantage. I'm sure of it. Spencer would have been great for him to have it as well. I mean, I love Spencer. Totally one of my favorite players, absolutely. But it's in the right hands, in Fishbach's hands, and he's going to make the most of it.
Yeah, I think that as soon as I saw when Jeff said, "All right, ready, go," and those two jumped off, I thought, okay, I'm happy because the person that's getting this is going to know how to use it properly. Yeah. It's not Dan Foley getting the vote advantage in Survivor Worlds apart. It's somebody who actually has a strategic mind, who is very savvy, who understands the game. And even, Johnny, even just listening to Steven and Spencer and Jeremy reason through their vote this past episode, it was amazing. I mean, just watching those guys talk strategy. I mean, I could just watch Spencer and Steven all day. That kid, Spencer, I mean, my goodness, like, he's 22 years old. He is so ridiculously intelligent. I love Spencer so much to death. But I think for his game, I do think that even though he didn't get the advantage, it probably was good for him because he doesn't have that target on his back, whereas Steven does. Now, stealing the vote, you said this is unprecedented. It's something that we have not seen in Survivor history. Really in reality TV history, this is the coup d'etat of Survivor. We have never seen a more powerful thing before. At least, you could argue the Terry Dietz getting the God idol in Survivor Panama Exile Island, where he can play it after the votes are read. Same with Tony getting it in Survivor Cagayan. I think that's fair. You could say that is the greatest advantage because you can get voted out and you still stay in the game. But this is pretty powerful. This is
right up there because this manipulates the votes itself. This is not something that can shield you from being voted out. This manipulates the votes itself, and in a game where these votes are so close, this is the power to have. This is the be all end all as far as I'm concerned.
Especially on this season
especially. I mean, you throw one of these powers into our season and it would have been useless. However, in this season of Survivor, this is it. This is the power to have. This is the be all end all.
Now, if you are Steven here, Johnny, you have been given this magical power. This is it's almost as if it was given to Steven by Twistos, Johnny. It's that powerful. It's so great. What would you do? Where would you use it? When do you think the best time would be for Steven to take advantage of this thing? There are 10 people left in the game. When would it be the best time for him to fully get the most out of this thing?
As far as I'm concerned, there are 2 people who Steven really should be thinking about using this against. And for Steven's game, if he wants to win, it's got to be Joe and Jeremy. Those are the 2 people he needs to use this against to get them out, period, end of story. Joe might be a little easier just when he doesn't win immunity. But this is truly, if he wants to derail Jeremy with those 2 immunity idols, this is the way he has to do it. And it has to be sudden and unexpected. And that's the only way that something like this is going to work.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to watch. I mean, if he has to use it against Jeremy, because it's going to be great television if that does happen. But man, I love those guys working together so much. I'm a huge Jeremy Collins fan. I think
love him. He's playing an amazing game this time around.
Great game.
He is going to take it if people like Spencer, people like Fishbach don't step in and take him out first. They cannot all go to the end together because that's just not going to work and can't win that way, you know?
Yeah, no, who knows? This is an evolution of the game, Johnny, so you never know.
Blow my mind if something like that happened.
That would be a pretty sweet Final Four if that's what it was. But yeah, let's talk about Jeremy. Let's go on the opposite side of this then. Jeremy got these 2 idols. He's got a second one. He hasn't told anybody about these so far, which is really great. I mean, we saw that work excellently for Kelly Wentworth when she didn't tell anyone and got rid of Andrew Savage by blindsiding him. And now Jeremy, beautiful moment from Jeremy. He breaks down, he's crying. He says he's playing this game for Val. He wants to win for her and, his kids. Just first out, Jeremy Collins, also amazing man, amazing person. I think he's an awesome dude. Jeremy, I love you so much. I think he's an awesome guy, and I felt for him a lot during that moment. I was getting a little emotional myself watching that, Johnny. I think that was a really awesome. It was an awesome thing. But now, what's he going to do with it? He's got 10 people. There's 10 people left in the game, 9 other people besides himself. So he's got to make it through final 10 tribal council and all the way down to the final 3. So he's got these 2 idols. When and how would it be the best time for him to use these, Johnny? Because right now it seems like he's in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, he is in a great spot. I don't necessarily know if he needs to use these right away. I think he could get by a week or 2 longer without having to use them. I think if he were smart, he would target getting rid of one of the witches, 3 amigos first. And I think that's where he's sort of leaning on anyways. Take care of Wentworth or Sierra. And very well, one of them could be going home next just because of that, because of how much power they've really held in these last couple votes. They've been so important. So I think that's the angle he'll go first. He won't need to waste an idol to do that. He can very easily rally people to get rid of Wentworth or Sierra. I think it's going to be in a week or 2's time, once maybe one of them or 2 of them are gone, that he's really going to need to step up his game and really decide what he wants to do. And again, on the flip, I think that if Jeremy wants to win, he needs to take out the Fishbach, the Joe, the Spencers. I really think that at some point, these people have to turn on each other. if they want to take the win, and to convince the jury that they deserve the win. Standing up there at final 2, 3, whatever it might be, it'll likely be a 3, I would imagine. But I would say that, I took out Fishbach. I took out Spencer. And I think that is something that could win you votes at that stage of the game. And I think that's what he needs to do. I think he can get by a couple more weeks without burning them, though. But if he's going to burn them, you burn it on a Fishbach and you burn it on a Spencer. Like I said, Joe might be an easier one to take out just because everyone kind of wants him out the minute he loses that immunity. Unless he can pull up the strategy. I just don't think he has it in him. He's a good-looking guy. I just don't know if he can bounce back because he's just so strong, and people are gonna eat him alive the minute he's vulnerable.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's gonna be, who knows, maybe something interesting can happen. We had Bryce Johnston was on the Voicemail podcast this week with Rob, and he brought up the idea, and as Edward Morris brought it up in the questions, he says that what do you think about the idea of everybody blindsiding Jeremy at Tribal Council, or at the Tribal Council, I should say, in which Joe does not win immunity? I think that would be a really interesting time for anybody to pull off a blindside, because they're not going to be expecting it. They're going to be thinking, hey, look, Joe's going home. He doesn't have immunity. Let's get rid of him. When in actuality, I think we could see a big moment there in which Joe is the person that gets blindsided. Okay, and Johnny is back. So, Johnny, let's just talk about, let's say hypothetically, Joe does go on one of these huge immunity runs, and he goes like super far in the game. He can somehow make the final Tribal Council. Where would you rank in terms of, and I had Colin Stone on my podcast last week, and go check that one out, guys, if you haven't already. But in terms of ranking these people, if there was a final 10 and the jury had to vote on one winner, just on the 10 right now, what are your power rankings? Who are the top 5 people who right now, with where the game is sitting, have the best shot to win this game, Johnny?
Best shot to win the game?
Best resume, I should say.
Best
like
resume?
So you would vote Spencer first?
Well, in a top, Fishbach 1.
Okay.
Spencer 2. Jeremy 3. However, depending on how he plays these idols, that might shift things up for me.
Right.
Jeremy 3, I would say, like, Joe is up there. But there's something that needs to be said. Just because you can win a bunch of competitions and take yourself, that is truly a commendable thing. Absolutely, these challenges are hard. But there has to be something said about someone who could actually play the strategic game. And I just haven't seen that from Joe yet. So he's up there in that top 5 too. Sierra, another person that I think gets a lot of credit for playing an amazing game. Wentworth too, super great game. However, I think she had that one idol, and now she's just going to fizzle, unfortunately. And now everyone's scared of her. But Sierra's the pit bull. Sierra knows what's up. Sierra knows how to play and manipulate the game. So that's another one. So I would say, let's say Sierra 4, Joe 5.
Okay.
Wentworth quick, just behind in 6th.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. I'm a little higher in Kelly Wentworth than you. I think she can manage to get through, especially with this voting blocks type of thing. I think that she can figure everything out. She's a great player. I mean, socially, off the charts, Kelly Wentworth. And I think strategically as well. I mean, yeah, having that idol really helped her out, but she's got a good crew. Those witches are really tight. They're really close to each other. She's got, I mean, that's something, I mean, you can say something about that. Not a lot of people have right now in this game of voting blocks. Not a lot of other people have one other person or two other people that they can say, this person has my back 100%. I know that they've got my back. So we'll see what happens. But I think maybe I would move her a little bit up. I don't know if, her chances of getting there, maybe not as high, but if she did make it to the final Tribal, I think she's got an excellent case to win the game just based on what she's done so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's jump into the questions here, guys. So if anybody wants to hop on and chat with Johnny and I, if you want to chat and ask us some of your own questions, if there's something you want to know about the episode, something that we haven't touched upon, please feel free to hop on. The phone lines are open, so just hit the join button, or I think it's calling, not quite sure what it is, but that is what it is. And we've got our first caller. It's John. John, how are you doing, man?
What's up, guys?
Hey, John.
How you doing? So John, I've only got your audio, so I can't.
Yeah,
I can't see you.
can't even see myself.
Oh, okay. So there you go. So you can't see yourself either. John, did you have a question about the episode or something you wanted to ask Johnny?
Yeah, I got two things.
Okay, so what do you want to get into?
So the first one is, since Jeremy has two idols, and of course the preseason saying, "Oh, there's gonna be fake idols." Do you think one of them is fake, or
Oh, do I think one of the idols is fake?
Yeah, that Jeremy has.
Oh, well, in the preseason, from what I can recall, I think what Jeff said is what the idols are all going to look different. So because they all look different, you can make a fake idol and sell it as a real idol, because you could say, hey, look, this is an immunity idol right here. And people could say, oh, well, yeah, all the idols are different this season. But I think the issue with that right now is that the only people that have seen the hidden immunity idols are Jeremy and Kelly Wentworth, and that's it. No one else even knows what they look like. Yeah. So I don't really know what.
I don't think there's a question about the first one he has being fake. I mean, I think we know for certain that isn't in fact an idol, and we know the second one he got is. They're both idols.
They're both idols. They're both real. They had the clue, and I think that certainly. I don't think the show would show us that, hey, Jeremy has a hidden immunity idol, and oh, psych, just kidding, it's fake. It doesn't work. So without letting us in on what's actually going on. And you had a second question, John.
Yeah, just a quick DMK for both of you.
Oh, Ding, Marry, Kill. Okay, yes, go ahead.
You know the game, Johnny?
Yeah.
Alrighty, so Ding, Marry, Kill.
Okay. Johnny knows that game. Okay, yes, John. Who are the three?
All right, Ding, Marry, Kill. The Tyler Perry idol, the extra vote, and the vote stealer.
Oh, okay. So the Tyler Perry idol, the extra vote that Dan Foley got, and the vote stealer. So this is a very interesting question. And Adam Rita, for those of you who are watching us live, you can see that Adam has joined us in the chat. What's up, Adam?
Hey, Adam. Good to see you again.
Good.
Yeah, good to see
you. So let's see. Ding, Marry, Kill. John, I think I would say, or Johnny, I'll go first. I'll say, for me, I would probably ding the vote stealer, just because I think that was like, when I first saw that, I was like, ooh, yeah, like it's like really impulsive. And I was like, that sounds like really good. But then when I took a second to think about it, I was like, you know what? I think I would rather have the God idol, the Tyler Perry idol. That would be the thing that I would prefer. So I would marry that, and I would kill the extra vote, because the vote stealer is essentially the extra vote, but it's just better. So I wouldn't really need it. Johnny, which one? Oh, and Johnny actually just dropped out. So, okay, Adam, what about you? Who for you would you say? What would be the Ding, Marry, Kill of those?
Okay, so I would definitely kill the Tyler Perry idol. It should never come back in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Tony, for ruining it.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think I actually like the vote doubler more than the vote stealer. Because I think the vote stealer may be a little bit unfair, like it's too much of a swing the other way, whereas I think the vote doubler has enough going against it that it's a little bit fairer. So, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. There we go. All right, John, thanks for the call, man.
All right, thanks, man. Go Bolts.
Go Bolts. Now, go Habs, John. Come on. Get it right, John. Go Habs, go. Okay, Jessica Frey's calling. We did lose Johnny, but Johnny should be back in a sec. So Jessica Frey, Jay Frey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing good. I was just kind of wondering, so the way the voting blocks things and when it was being talked about, do you guys see that more as being played kind of like a Big Brother strategy, where alliances are a little bit more like fickle, or I mean not like fickle, but it's going to change week to week? And so I don't know, how would these players do good on Big Brother with this strategy? Because I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. And I think the big thing, Jessica, is that with Big Brother, there's only two people that can go home each week. So you only have two options in terms of who's going to go home at the vote. Whereas with this, everybody's vulnerable and anybody can go home other than the person that has immunity. So I certainly think that the fluidity of the alliances is definitely more of a Big Brother type of mindset. So it's a very interesting point. I really like that. Adam, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think we've seen a lot of these voting blocks sort of permeate throughout some previous seasons as well. But I think I don't know if there's certain people here that there's a lot of older school type players that are going to take this move that Fishbach has done, and really, I don't know if they're going to trust him. I think, Kimmy really put her trust in Stephen, and she's going to be pretty blindsided by this. So I don't know if there's going to be more fluid votes coming forward, or if these people are just going to fall by the wayside. So it could really go either way.
Yeah, should be interesting, but I'm excited to see how it all plays out. But Jay Frey, thank you for the call.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll talk to you later. Okay, Jessica Frey, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and we're just flying through these calls. Johnny Colatruglio is MIA. I don't know what happened to Johnny, but hopefully he will join us quickly. But Adam, first off, I just want, before I can get your question for me, I just wanted to say two things. One, sure. Thank you for staying up very late with us, because right now it is 1 p.m. Pacific on the West Coast. It's Saturday, but Johnny,
yes.
Sorry, Adam, you what time is it in where you're at in Perth?
It's just about 5 a.m. here.
So yeah. you have not gone to sleep yet. You didn't wake up early.
No, I have gone to sleep. I've gone to sleep. I had a big wedding in the afternoon today, so I went home and just completely slept at around 10. So I woke up and was like, Jordan's on.
Well, thank you for tuning in. So I appreciate that. And then the second thing, Adam, is I just wanted to say congratulations on the announcement of Survivor Australia becoming a new show. So that's awesome. So how excited are you?
Yeah. I've never been more excited for anything in my life. This is my dream coming true, Jordan. I'm already going through my audition process at the moment, trying to make a video. So hopefully I can represent the RHAP community and get on the show and not be voted out first. I don't want to be Francesca out.
No, that would be very unfortunate. And we also have Tyler Kakuno has joined us. Tyler, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Doing very good, Tyler. And Adam, I keep brushing off your question. What was your question that you wanted to ask when you first came on?
Well, I just had a kind of simple question. It was, with the amount of jurors left in the game, or do we think that it's going to be a final two or a final three?
Interesting. Well, let's see. So there are 10 people left in the game. We have 3 people on the jury. So assuming if it's a final 3, we're going to have 10 people on the jury. If it's a final 2, we're going to have 11 people on the jury, which is an astronomically sized jury. 11. I mean, that's pretty nuts. I personally think it's going to be a jury of 10 with a final 3. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the final 3. I just feel like I hope it's a final 2, but just how Jeff Probst is production, in an all-star cast, I think they'd rather have as many people in the final 3, because I think, let's say the final 3 is Jeremy, Keith, and Kimmy. I feel like production's worst nightmare, Kimmy somehow wins the final immunity challenge, votes out Jeremy, our final 2 is Kimmy and Keith. Now, I would love that. That would be great for me. That would be the best. But I think they want to avoid that kind of stuff. So.
Okay, well...
But here's my counter question to that. Do you think that they are thinking, like they plan it so much in advance that they're like at the start of the season, they're like, this is a final 2 or a final 3? Or do you think they're a little bit more fluid depending on who's left in the game, whether they go final 2 or final 3?
I think it's one of those things that they can kind of be like, let's see. Let's think about this, right? I mean, the final 3 was first implemented in Survivor Cook Islands, correct? Yes? So Cook Islands.
Yes.
And since then, when have they done a final 2? They did a final 2 in Survivor Micronesia.
And
yes, they did a final 2 in Survivor Tocantins. Okay. They did a final 2. Was it all the way in Survivor Cagayan? Was that the next time?
So, yeah.
Yeah, Cagayan, because it was a big shock for Cagayan at the time as well, because they were just expecting a final 3.
There have been 3 times since the final 3 era has begun in which we've had it be a final 2. So if we break down those seasons, I mean, Micronesia, I think that might have had to do with the fact that we had Johnny Fairplay. I guess he got voted out, but we had Penner get medevac, so that kind of screwed up the days. So I think that might have been the case there. And I think with Tocantins, I think that one, it was, I mean, again, didn't Joe Dowdle got a medevac from the game? So there's another example of that. And then Cagayan, we had, we didn't have any medevacs, but we did have Lindsay quit. So that kind of screwed up the day. So I don't know. Maybe they go into all these things thinking, okay, it's a final 3. But then when something like a medevac or a quit happens, then they reevaluate the situation and then they make it a final 2. So perhaps with Terry Dietz leaving the game in those circumstances, maybe we will get a final 2 this season because there is some precedence to that. Johnny Colatruglio, you are back, my friend. What do you think about that? The idea of the final 2 and final 3. Do they decide that at the start of the season?
I would like to think that if production is playing a clean game, that it is decided at the very start. However, you never know. You never know whether they might change their mind midway through when they, see the popularity of, maybe those last 4 or 5, maybe 5 or 6 people left, and they're like, maybe let's do a final 3 or let's really shake it up and do a final 2. My gut is telling me we're going to get a final 3 this season. And so that's sort of what I'm thinking.
All right, there we go. Adam, so thank you for the call, man. Thank you for staying up waking up early and calling in. I appreciate it. But yeah, best of luck with the Survivor Australia audition. I hope it goes well for you, man. I would love to see you on there.
No worries. Thanks for hope to be on
no
this
worries,
soon.
man.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you soon. All right, so there's the great Adam Rita, who Johnny and I met in Niagara Falls this year. Great dude. Love Adam. Okay, so Tyler, before we get into your question, I saw in the chat that you said that in your rankings for people who you would vote for to win the game, number 1 on the list would be Abby Maria Gomez. So
100%.
All right. So tell me why Abby Maria would be, if you're on the jury right now, if you're Andrew Savage right now voting for the winner of the game, you would vote for Abby Maria. Why is that?
Well, I think for me to voting personally, I would just vote for who I like the most. Because that's fair. That's just like, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you're giving somebody $1 million. In 20 years, you're not going to care who played the best game. You just want your friend to get the money, right?
Yes, true.
But also, I think that, people say Abby's a GOAT and stuff like that, but she has been doing her own thing. People say every season that, play your own game, play your own game. You know what? Abby's playing her own game. She may be using her emotions, but she's still playing her own game. And a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are just following her. And they're like, people are just going to take Abby to the end and no one's going to vote for her. But the truth is, if it's let's say the final let's say Jordan, you and I are out there with Abby.
Okay. This is my dream scenario, by the way. I'm going to have dreams about this, being on an island with Abby Maria and Tyler Kakuno.
Kill me now.
Yeah. Let's say we're out there, and we have a final. We're going to the final 3 together, right?
Okay.
And all of a sudden, let's say it's final 5, and we're like, okay, we're finally voting Abby out. We want to go to the end together. And you betray me. You stab me in the back. And
Right. Very likely.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that. Who's going to be happy about being taken out for Abby, who's known as the GOAT, especially in an All-Star season where they're known to be more bitter? They could just be like, so you want to screw me over for Abby? I'm going to vote for her to win. So I think for those reasons, you could see her winning. And I'd, if someone screwed me over for Abby, I'd 100% vote for her. Screw you if you're going to take me out for her.
Well, I think here's the thing, though. I think with that, and that is an interesting point, and it is certainly valid. I think, though, that with the final 3, you kind of take away from that. So unless Abby is sitting next to Keith Nail or Kimmy, then I don't know if Abby can argue her case against 2 other people. Yeah, she might be able to against one other person. If one person screwed over a certain person, then they can say, I like Abby more than, let's say, I don't know, Steven. But if Tasha's there or Jeremy's there, they could just be like, if it's Abby versus Tasha or Jeremy, I'm voting for that other person because why would I vote for Abby Maria? So I don't know. That's just how I'm viewing it. Who knows? Maybe things can change. People are going to get screwed over. People are going to be upset. Johnny, earlier, you were talking about how all-star seasons have had bitter juries in the past. That is definitely.
I think he's got a good point to make on that. Point.
So yeah,
bitter juries are common in all-star casts because people get their feelings hurt. They're bringing emotions into the game because they know them from already prior to the game. So I can certainly see you do have a good point in that sense, but I do not think in any means of the game, no matter how the rest of it plays out, that Abby Marie can win. It will not happen. But
All right, there we
do
go.
see people like Amber winning against the Rob, the strategist, because he's the one that screwed everyone over. So, yeah, in a final 2 situation, yeah, maybe one person can win, but Abby's not winning this game. It's not going to happen.
Just another reason why final 2 is better than final 3, though.
I actually am with you. I do like the final 2.
I prefer a final 2 as well.
Yeah. Right.
But you never know. But Tyler, thank you for the question.
No,
you have your question.
Sorry.
Okay, so yes, ask your question. Sorry.
Okay, so,
how rude of me.
No, I forgive you, Jordan. It's all good.
Thank you.
All right. So people last week they were very, very high on Kelly Wentworth for playing her idol. Like, what a good player, and stuff like that. I'm more in the boat that's like, now Kelly's only been to that point. She went to 3 tribal councils, and she already had 9 of the 12 people voting her out. And yeah, she played her idol. But if you have 9 people voting you out at any point, aren't you not really playing a good game?
I think that if you have 9 of 12 people trying to vote you out, I think that says that maybe. I don't think that it has to do with her being a bad player. I think it's the opposite. I think it's because she's a good player, and I think it's that people are very threatened by her and recognize, whoa, Kelly Wentworth is really good at this game, and we've got to take a shot at her. Part of it as well, I think, is yeah. Go ahead, Andrew.
Russell, when the second tribal council how many people voted for him in Samoa? It was a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had a lot of votes against him.
Yeah, so I mean that's a similar situation. I'm not saying Kelly's Russell Hance by any means, but I mean,
I think Russell's a horrible player.
Yeah,
so
that Kakuno is licking his chops when you said when we were talking about Russell Hance. But valid point, Andrew. I think that sure. I mean, yeah, Russell. I mean, a lot of people think Russell's a really good player. Depends on who you ask. Not the greatest social player, if you ask me, but strategically, sure. Tactically, he's a great player. But yeah, I don't know. I think that as Russell Hance would say, Tyler, I think that maybe that thinking is flawed because, because I think that it's because she's a threat. It's not because she's a bad player. And look at her right now. I mean, I guess, yeah, they were trying to target her again, but sometimes Survivor is a lot of luck, and I think that she's had a lot of bad bounces so far, and she still managed to survive. So I think we've got to give her some credit for that. Johnny, you would agree with me on that?
I agree completely. Listen, you come back from having all the votes cast against you, essentially, and then you survive the very next tribal. You're obviously playing a very good game, because if you're not the one going home right immediately after, you're doing something right.
Yeah, I was much more impressed by this last tribal than the one before. I think her stand is really good. You got to get out of the big threats like Kelly Wigglesworth. You got to get those giant threats out of the game. I'd be really worried if I was out there with her. I'll let you guys know. I'll see you guys.
Tyler Kakuno, thank you for calling in. Always a pleasure having you. All right, so there we go. Abby Maria's #1 fan, Tyler Kakuno, also from Cloverdale, British Columbia, my hometown. So there you go. So Andrew has been patiently waiting to ask his question, and Greg's going to hop in here while Andrew's going to ask his question. So Andrew, what's up, man?
You guys are talking about like the final 3 being with the person jury and 3. Did you guys think it was going to be a final 3? Because that's what all of RHAPpy thought.
Yeah, well, that was something that was certainly discussed. I think that we thought that, okay, well, why would they have a jury of 10? That's unprecedented. We've never seen this. Well, especially on Big Brother. I mean, there's never been a final 3 or something, but we thought, hey, Big Brother Canada 3, it's season 3. That could be the theme, final 3. Who knows? So, yeah, that was certainly discussed. I think Willow, I'm pretty sure Willow bet me. I think it was like me and Bobby. She bet us, I think it was $100 and we lowered it to $40. That one, she was like 100%. It's final 3. I'm calling it right now. Final 3. And me and Bobby were like, no, we don't think it's gonna be final 3. And she was like, all right, let's bet. How much money you want to bet? And so we bet each other, and she lost the bet. So Bobby and I got some free booze in Niagara Falls. So that was nice. But yeah, so that was discussed, Andrew.
And then another thing, I got a question about whose boot edit was more of a yawn, Kelly Wigglesworth or Monica's?
Okay.
So both of them were so blah in the edit that
right. So are you saying whose was more it was more obvious that they were going home? Is that what you're saying, or
not more obvious, but more like like we didn't see. I mean,
See them on the show.
we didn't see coming before that episode.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. I think I don't know, Johnny, what do you think about that? That's a tough one.
It's a tough one. I think Monica, yeah, if I had to pick, like, I mean, her edit, she didn't see it coming. I mean, a lot of us had high hopes for Monica going into the season. So, yeah, I mean, so did I. Don't get me wrong. So,
Yeah.
I did have high hopes for her. I mean, I did think that she, could potentially be an early boot, but yeah, I don't know. I think hers was a little bit worse, I would say, than Wigglesworth.
Yeah, and I think with Monica too, I think it was a little bit orchestrated in the fact that we hadn't seen any of her, and then the week before, we saw that scene of her, that confessional saying that she wants to go at Spencer. And Spencer at that point had been, portrayed as the golden boy. I mean, we have the and I've said this several times. I mean, he's got the symphony playing every time when he's doing something that's maybe not even that amazing, but that's okay because I love Spencer, so I'm fine with that. But I think the Monica thing was maybe a little more obvious that it was perhaps coming soon. Whereas Kelly, for me, I was very shocked because if you would have asked me a week ago, I would have probably told you Kelly Wigglesworth is going to make it final 6, final 7, no problem, no questions asked. So
I don't blame them for taking out Wigglesworth. For one, she's not original Bion. For two, she's not one of Jeremy, Steven, and Spencer's main allies. So I mean, and then another thing is, had she gone to the end with the right people, I think she could have won.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, certainly.
That's for the fact that she was a runner-up in season 1.
She's a likable person for sure. And
would it be an ideal?
Yeah.
Would it be an ideal winner for this season? No, but
no.
Yeah, it wouldn't be ideal, but you know what? I mean, yeah, I think it would have been a cool story, I think, and it would have been a cooler story than some of the other winners we've had on Survivor. I think that with Survivor, more often than Big Brother, we see winners in which people aren't always satisfied with the person winning. Oh, yeah. I think Kelly would have been, people would have said, it would have been better if it wasn't Wigglesworth. But at the same time, I think people would have been like, you know what? It's cool. She finished in the final 2 of the first Survivor. She was 1 vote away. She was 1 Greg Buis vote away from winning the first ever season of Survivor and really changing the reality television forever. That would have been, and that's another podcast for another day. I think that it wouldn't have been no deal, but I would have dealt with it. But Andrew, anything else before we want to get out of here?
One last question.
Yes.
When will Joe finally lose immunity?
Okay.
Is it going to be in this double episode next week? Because I have a feeling it might be.
Yeah, Johnny, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Joe's in trouble in this upcoming episode. I don't think he can hold out very much longer. I think he's in trouble.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Johnny. I would say probably, I mean, they would put a double episode at a certain point for some reason. I mean, they just have to move things up because the finale is going to be coming up soon. But I feel like putting Joe's boot in as part of that double episode would make sense because as soon as he loses, everybody's just going to assume, okay, it's time to get rid of Joe. So yeah, if I had to guess, just to be different than Johnny, I'll say I'll say the second of the 2 tribal councils, but I do think that Joe will be his number is coming up pretty shortly here. But Andrew, thank you for the question, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No worries. Okay, so that was Andrew. So Andrew, thank you very much. And Greg was trying to call in. Greg, see if you can fix your connection because it wasn't working. So if you want to try calling back, then we can see if we can get you on. But in the meantime, we're going to have a person that people on Twitter have been calling the co-host of the RHAPpy Hour because he's here each and every week. And he's always a great part of this second half of the show. And that's the great Taryn Armstrong, ladies and gentlemen. Taryn, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. They call me the great second halfer. That's my nickname.
The great second halfer. I think that maybe the closer, I think that would be a better nickname for you, Taryn.
That's a little too cool sounding, I think.
Is it Taryn the closer Armstrong? I think that's cool. I don't know. My dad, fun fact, my dad and I during Survivor Caramoan, when Philip, there was one challenge where he was like throwing things and it looked like he was a baseball pitcher and he looked like a closer. So that is what my dad and I called Philip for that entire season was the closer. So you're in good company, Taryn.
Great company.
Really? I mean, you're essentially the specialist.
It's not everyone that gets to go to the end with Boston Rob.
No. Boston Rob and Natalie Tenorelli.
Yeah, we cannot forget Natalie Tenorelli, candidate for the season.
No, oh yeah, that's too bad. Poor Natalie Tenorelli. Seems like a very nice girl, but just didn't make it for whatever reason. But Taryn, anything you wanted to discuss about the Survivor episode this week?
I was listening to Kelly's exit interview, and I was surprised at how much she said she trusted Steven. And like how comfortable she was with him, despite the fact that he was running around and everyone thinks he's kind of sketchy. She was like, oh, well, he's with me. And she was actually a little more skeptical of Jeremy, of all people. So I feel like that's kind of counter to the edit we've gotten, but I'm glad to hear it as a Steven fan. I mean, I like Jeremy too, but I think I'm really glad the turn Steven's edit has gotten to with this episode in particular, where we're finally seeing his strategic chops, and we're seeing this is a dangerous person in the game. He is not somebody to be laughed at, and I'm really glad that we're finally seeing that.
Absolutely. And I mean, we've talked about this the past few weeks that you've hopped on the show, Taryn, that Steven, I was saying right now, he doesn't have the resume to win, but right now we've seen what we saw in this past episode. He's certainly trending up, and things are looking good for good old Fishbach. So I'm very excited to see what's next for him. Johnny, what do you think about Steven's edit so far? Because I've talked about this a little bit with certain people this season. It's been all over the place, and sure enough, as soon as I ask Johnny the question, he drops out of the call. So, Darren, I'll throw it to you then. What do you think this is telling us? Because we've never seen an edit quite like this on the show, have we?
I don't think so. Not one where you start as the kind of outcast, like doofusy kind of character, and then become a strategic threat. I feel like we've had the doofus person be a competition threat down the line, like, oh, will they win out until the end? Fabio, even kind of Keith, right? Last season,
right?
Or not last season, the season before.
Last year at this time. Yep, Keith Nail.
So, but we haven't seen one turn around to the point where they're actually a strategic threat, where they're making strategic moves and legitimately have a shot to win. So, I mean, strategically, of course, not competitively. So I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's exciting to see this evolution of, evolution of Survivor and evolution of how they edit the show too. Maybe that's a thing. Johnny, what do you think? Do you think that how they're editing the show is evolving just as the game is evolving with Survivor?
I think it has to. I think absolutely it has to edit. The edit has to change as the game changes. I think that's the really interesting thing about Survivor. It's fully filmed, and then they cut the show and they decide those storylines and the things that they show. And I would say that in the last, couple years of Survivor, you're watching, 2 seasons a year. They're really working on building and developing that story for that winner as they move forward. And I think that's becoming something that's more common now. It makes for a better show if you sort of develop that storyline. It's unfortunate, though, because I think you miss a lot out as to what's really happening. And just going back to what you were saying before I dropped off there with the Wigglesworth being more upset with Jeremy than Steven, I think was the rumor not that she had some sort of thing pre-existing with worked out with Steven prior to the game? I feel like I read that somewhere.
I know she had a pregame alliance with Varner and
Terry. Varner, yeah. Varner. So Varner was the king of pregame. So Varner had and this was again interesting that you bring up the exit interview, Taryn, because Rob point blank just said, "Hey, Kelly, did you have a pregame alliance with Jeff Varner?" And she essentially denied it and said, she's
like, it wasn't that serious.
Yeah. So she was kind of like playing it off and saying it wasn't a thing. But Jeff Varner has said, and I think he was on Twitter this week and on social media saying, we had it. So he's like, I'll show you the text. We did have a pregame alliance. So I'm not sure. Maybe she's scared production will get mad at her. I'm not quite too sure why she hasn't been open with this. I don't know. But yeah, that the pregame alliance, I don't know if it was with Steven, but Johnny, I imagine that they had talked before the show. And I think that Steven was probably very active. I would imagine so. Just based on seeing Steven and what the little that I do know about Steven, I think that's something that he would have done, but who knows? So maybe that had something to do with it as well. But I agree. Certainly an interesting point, because it seemed like Jeremy was a little more trustworthy, but it probably goes back to the idea that Kelly started off on Takeo. Those two started off on Bion. She didn't have the time with Jeremy. Whereas the other people who are saying that Steven isn't so trustworthy were on the Bion tribe. They started with both Jeremy and Steven, and they kind of built relationships with them from the very start. But let's take a couple questions, guys, because we've got some loaded up here and we haven't actually looked at those. And I talked about this earlier in the episode. This is a question from Edward Morris, and Edmo, he says, Bryce brought up the idea of blindsiding Jeremy when Joe doesn't have immunity on the most recent voicemail podcast with Bryce on RHAPpy. What do you guys think about that idea of everybody in the tribe, in the merged tribe? I can't even remember what they're called at this point. Something, I don't know.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. I don't really pay attention.
Go the Dom Collin and just call it by the color.
By the color, yeah, exactly.
I don't know the color either.
I don't know that either. Don't pay attention. Orange. Yes. Thank you, Johnny, for bailing me out. So, what do you guys think about this? Johnny, I'll throw it to you. Do you like this idea of taking a shot at Jeremy at the next tribal council in which Joe is not immune? Because I feel like at that point, if you're going to blindside Jeremy with those two idols, that would be the best time, no?
I agree. I think that is very, very clever. I think Jeremy would be feeling very comfortable going into the tribal thinking that, Joe was a done deal. They've been talking about it for how long? And then boom, flip the vote on Jeremy just like that. Absolutely, that would be a good move as far as I'm concerned. And it would make great TV. Will it happen? I'm not sure. But I think if they could pull that off, I'd be blown away sitting back on my TV and on my couch and watching. So
that would be nuts. Taryn, yeah, what about you? And do you think that would be smart doing that? Because would it be too risky in letting Joe back into the field to try and win immunity? Because then he'd only have to win immunity one last time.
Well, I think it depends on when it happens. So if Joe loses next week, then I think you can safely get rid of Jeremy. Joe still has to win, at least 5 more? So, I mean, the chances are still pretty slim that he's going to win out. I think the problem is, and this goes to the strength of Jeremy's game with the idols plural now, is that nobody knows that he has those idols. So they don't know that they have to make this move, and they don't know how dangerous Jeremy is moving forward in this game. Right now, I think he's probably in one of the best spots to win, especially with those idols, but nobody knows it because they don't know he has those idols. They don't know they need to take this risk in the first place. So kudos to Jeremy for keeping it quiet, because obviously there are so many opportunities where you can just blurt it out and be like, oh, no, I have the idols. Don't worry about this. Or like, you can trust me. I'm showing you I have the idol. He kept it quiet and he managed to keep trust with people anyway. And it's paying off now because people aren't thinking about making those moves against him.
Certainly, and I think that if he can keep that up, it's great, because then there is no Todd in Survivor China to say, hey guys, James doesn't have immunity, let's get rid of him now because we know he has 2 idols. Yeah. And Jeremy doesn't have to deal with that, and it's great. It's a beautiful thing, and that's what I love. I love that that's the strategy that these guys have been taking this season, is not telling people, hey, I have the idol, and not letting it out, because Kelly Wentworth didn't. Worked out great for her. Right now, Jeremy hasn't, and it's looking good for him as well. Seems like he really trusts Steven, which could be a really bad move on his part if he tells him about that, especially because Steven has that advantage. But we will have to wait and see how that one plays out.
Someone pointed out somewhere, I don't remember where, that Jeremy said in his pregame bio that 2 of his favorite players are JT and James. And right now he's trying to be the JT to Steven, and he has 2 idols.
Has to avoid being James. Oh man, Jeremy, I didn't see that. Jeremy really likes James, because I feel like, for me, I don't know about you guys, I really did not like James at all after Heroes versus Villains. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody could like James after that. I mean, that was really, China James was fine, and I mean, I guess Micro Nietzsche got injured and he had to leave. That was fine, but yeah, I don't know. Not the biggest James
got a little fan.
Yeah, I didn't really like that look for him. Here's a question. This one comes from Nick Hartman, and he says, doesn't the value of Steven's advantage depend on when in the order he votes? Last equals better because the other votes are locked in and no one can change plans. So I don't think that's how it's going to be. I feel like he can do anyone's vote, but at the same time, I feel like in order for Stephen to do this, because he said he has to, when he's voting, he has to say he wants to use
Is it when he's
his
voting,
advantage?
or can he just do it at any time and say?
I think he says when he's voting, he has to say, I want to use my advantage. So that would entail, at least in how I'm looking at it, that would mean he would have to vote last at tribal council every single time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine they'd probably ask him, like, are you going to use it at this tribal, and then hope that, and if it comes up like he changes his mind, then that's, I mean, it's a weird situation. So
it is.
I don't know why they'd make him do it while he was voting.
Yeah, it's weird.
Right?
I'm not sure what they're going to do. It might be one of those ones that we might even be surprised how it comes out. It comes to, like, maybe he just says he has to use his advantage, but not say what his advantage is, right? He goes up and votes as normal, says to the camera up at the voting box, I'm canceling this person's vote and I'm going to vote again for them. Maybe it's something like that.
Right. Yeah, that would make more sense. Because, if they put him at the end of the order every time, I think people are going to start realizing, okay, well, Stephen has this advantage, and he's last in the order every single time. So something's kind of, and I mean, at least if that's how Stephen's mind works. I know for me, like when I was playing, Johnny, I'm sure for you, the vote order sometimes is probably what you thought about when you were playing Big Brother. I know that was something that I thought about.
Absolutely.
Especially the week I got blindsided, the order of the vote changed. So then I thought, that doesn't really sound so good. And then I was like, I'll just stay calm. I think I'm okay. And then sure enough, I go home. That was great. But an interesting thing. What do you guys think the odds are that Stephen doesn't get to use this advantage, that he gets blindsided before he even gets the chance to use it? Because certainly there is a chance that occurs. No, right, Johnny?
Yeah, there's a chance. I think he'll use it. He'll get to use it. We'll see it come out. The show wants him to play it. It's exciting. Like we were talking about before, this is a huge power, especially in a game like this. We're going to see it. It's going to rear its head, and I think someone's going to go home on it, and we're going to love watching that as the audience.
Yeah, I think he'll get a chance to use it. Either get a chance to use it or choose not to use it. I don't think he's going to be like, oh man, I really wanted to use it, but I got blindsided instead. I think there's he could do a Tony and say, I have this advantage. You'd better do what I want because you never know what this is going to entail. So I think that's a movie he could make, and then maybe he doesn't end up using it. But I don't see like the build up to that whole advantage thing. They're not just going to let it flounder out.
No.
I hope not, because that would be a huge shame if that didn't come to fruition. The idea of Stephen Fishbach, the knowingest know-it-all, getting this power and not being able to use it because he got blindsided. Let's take another one. This one is from Ashley, and she says, how do you think Kimmy will react after being left out of the loop at Tribal Council? Surely not good, Johnny.
Kimmy is going to be the typical Kimmy. She's going to be pissed off. She's going to be upset. It's going to make great TV. We're going to love watching it. But she's going to be mad. Absolutely, she's going to be mad. She's an interesting person. I mean, I didn't really like her back in Australia. And I mean, she's just meh now. But, she's going to get that finger up in your face. She didn't like when Alicia did that. I love that moment, by the way. But, she's going to be mad, and she's going to be vocal about it. Kimmy's not the kind of person to just sit back and not say something.
Taryn, you're in agreement?
I think the question is, who is she going to be mad at the most, right? Because she really trusted Jeremy. I'm pretty sure she trusted Jeremy. Maybe she didn't anymore, but I know she did in the past. So I think, I like this move from Stephen for the most part, but it's only half of the move. The other half is how he handles all of the aftermath. He needs to be able to secure the right voting block for the next vote to ensure that he can continue on, because if he's the one everyone blames because he was the one pushing the vote, then he's going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, certainly. It's that damage control that Johnny and I were talking about earlier. And Andrew in the chat is saying, why should they be mad? It's not an original Bion member. Well, they weren't in on the plan, so they wanted to get rid of one of the three witches, and they didn't. So Kimmy's not going to be too happy about that, especially, she's the one who coined the phrase. She's the one who was saying, oh, we got to get rid of them. We got to split the vote, all this stuff. So she's not going to be too happy. And that's a really good, interesting thing you brought up, though, Taryn, is who is she going to be the most mad at? I think Spencer is the one who for sure is going to walk away from this unscathed, because he didn't have Kimmy has played the game every single day with Jeremy and Steven. So those guys are all very tight. It's a really tight unit. And I think that she's going to be upset that she wasn't included in that plan. Okay, here's one from Jorge Alvarado. And Jorge says, does an evolution in the game indicate that taking a GOAT to the end is outdated? Will we see 3 strong players get to the finals like a Steven, Jeremy, Fishbach, where each has their own merits for winning the game? Interesting point. Johnny, what do you think? You seem to say no early on. You don't think that it's going to get that. You don't think that'll happen?
No, I don't think so. I feel like it is game and good strategy to take a GOAT every now and then to the end with you. Sometimes you need that in order to win. The cautious part about that, especially in an all-star, like we were saying before, is the possibility of a bitter jury. And because of that, you might not want to take a GOAT because that GOAT could possibly take a few of the votes of those very bitter people. Does the evolution in the game indicate that taking a GOAT to the end is outdated? No, I still think that will always be a good strategic move then, now, and forever. So that's my thoughts, at least.
What do you think about it, Taryn? Do you think that there's a chance we could see something like this? Because we've never seen that before.
Yeah, I think in the future, people are always going to be taking GOATs, especially with an all-new cast, because I think that's the prevailing strategy. However, these all-star seasons, I think it's a much less viable strategy because everyone's going to be looking for it and everyone's going to be wanting to take the GOAT. So if you have the GOAT, you're going to have a lot of those situations where in the final 4, there's 2 GOATs and there's 2 players. And those players are going to be like, well, whoever wins immunity is the one that's going to survive to bring those GOATs to the end. And that's not a place you necessarily want to be. So I think it's a much more viable strategy. And again, you also have the problem of the returning players are probably more inclined to vote for the GOATs, as Johnny mentioned, because they're a little more bitter and they're upset that somebody dragged a GOAT along. So I think with all new seasons or all new casts, we'll continue to see the GOAT strategy. I think it's by far the most successful strategy we've seen, in Survivor and Big Brother. But for returning player casts, I think it could go either way. I think, and this is an interesting question actually that I've been meaning to ask. If I can not move on yet, if you have something to say, Jordan.
No, go ahead. Feel free.
Something I've been pondering with Steven's situation. So he's concerned with making a resume for himself in the final 3. But he's also closely attached to Jeremy, and Jeremy has 2 idols and a lot of social capital. So it's going to be very difficult to get Jeremy out, and it might cost Steven his own game if he tries. So what does Steven do? Does he continue to try and build a resume for himself so that he can go to the end with Jeremy and beat him? Or does he take the risk and try to get Jeremy out before the end, risking, getting cut before he gets to the end?
Well, I mean, Johnny, you were talking about that in the podcast today. You said that you think he should take the shot at Jeremy.
I think he has to. If he's going to stand a chance at making a good case that he should win at the end. I think he is setting himself up to lose again if he were to go to the end with someone like a Jeremy with 2 idols in his pocket, who has played a great game as well. And I would hate to see that happen to Fishbach again. That's for sure.
Yeah, that would. Oh man, could you imagine Steven gets
devastating? He'll never be able to live it down. He'll never sleep a sound night again.
No, that would be awful.
I think the flip side of it is though that I think I'd rather be in the final 3 than take a chance. Like if it's say a 30% chance that he misses his shot at Jeremy and he goes home, and it's a 30% chance that he loses in the final 3. Or whatever, like if it's relatively equal, I'd rather be in the finals and take my chances with a jury because the jury can be a little unpredictable. And not only that, but he's been building a resume. And I think some of these players would respect him for his strategy. And he'd be able to say, sure, Jeremy was the guy out front, but I was the guy behind the scenes. And you know that because you watched my previous season and you all knew that this whole game and you let me do it. So I think personally, I would if the opportunity showed itself and Jeremy was a sitting duck, I'd be like, all right, yeah, I'm going to take that shot. But if it's really difficult and he finds out, oh man, Jeremy has 2 idols, and if I try to go against him, people are going to turn on me, I think I'm just going to sit there and wait until the final 3 and then hope I can, debate him out of the game.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, we saw that Steven did a very poor job the first time he was in a final tribal council
So hopefully
situation.
he's been practicing.
So yeah, perhaps he has been. Maybe he's confident enough that he can bring it this time and he can argue his case. And certainly with what he's doing, you can't say, I think people are going to be seeing, okay, Steven is making these moves. It's not Jeremy who is driving the bus here. Steven is doing just as much, if not more, than Jeremy is doing. So it's really hard. I don't know what the move is. I think if the opportunity presents itself, and not yet, it's a little too soon, but if you're around 5 or 6 and you have a shot, I think I would go with what Johnny's saying. However, if it doesn't, I think it's fine. I think you don't need to worry about it too much. Chill, go to the end with Jeremy and take your best shot and see what happens, because I'm with you. I think that getting to the end and having a chance to argue your case to win that's what you want to do. You just got to get there. That's what a lot of people really want. And it's not, if you're thinking too much about, oh man, who can I beat? It's just not going to work for you. And that was something, for me that I thought about when I was playing Big Brother was I thought I was aligned with somebody who I knew if I was in the end with him, 100% I would lose. But I thought, okay, well, at some point I'm going to have to turn. But for now, I'm going to go with this because as soon as I get rid of my number one guy here, my meat shield, I'm in trouble. People are going to start coming for me. As soon as Steven gets rid of Jeremy, I think that the target on Steven's back grows exponentially, and I think that he's in a lot of trouble. So it just depends on when he does it. And what it comes down to with Survivor and life is timing. Timing is essential. And can Steven nail the timing? I don't know. If he can, though, that could be the difference between him and winning $1 million or not. So, but it's a really good point, Taryn, and I think that's something that I think week to week is something that as the closer, you and I will probably be discussing is when is it time to take a shot at Jeremy for Steven? Or on the flip side, if you're Jeremy, when is it a time to take a shot at Steven? I don't know. But
another thing I think is really underrated is if Steven knows that he's really tight with Jeremy and he's going to be really tough to take out, maybe Steven knows, okay, I'm going to be going to the final 3 with Jeremy. What can I do between now and then to discredit his game along the way? And I think that's something that Dan Giesling did really well with Memphis in Big Brother.
Yes.
And Netta did with John in Big Brother Canada, where she was making some moves that were against John's best interest in order to show dominance within the pair. And I think that's kind of what he did with this vote. He's starting to show, I'm making a move here, and it wasn't necessarily in Jeremy's best interest to go along with it. If he can do at least one more of those and keep Jeremy from doing things that look really impressive, then I think he really does have a shot.
Yeah, it's man. I hope in an ideal scenario, I think I would want to see those guys just duke it out in the final 3 and see that. Yeah, that would be great. Because it's been. When's the last time there was really a close vote in the final tribal council and Survivor? Nothing really comes to mind for me that really stands out.
The one that jumps to my mind is Cook Islands, and that's so long ago.
Yeah, that's honestly, Yule versus Ozzy. Same. I think that's probably the best example of it. And that was a really interesting one because you got this dichotomy of one guy who is just so strategic and one guy who is so great at challenges. Yeah, amazing.
I love it.
I love Cook Islands too. That's one of my favorite seasons. But for whatever reason, a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of it. Okay, let's take a couple questions. Let's start winding this thing down. We've got room for one more video call if you want to make a video call. If not, we'll take 2 more text questions, and then we will wind things down. So let's take this one here from Gregory McBean, and he says, why do you think that CBS decided to pair up these next 2 episodes on the same night? Do you think we'll get a brief pagonging so we can see Tasha, Keith, or Kelly and Sierra go home, or is it just a coincidence? Yeah, Johnny, what do you think? Do you think that the reason why they're pairing these 2 episodes together is that it's going to be kind of an obvious boot, or do you think it's just the fact that they just need to speed things up here?
I think they have to speed things up. I think that this is just something that, is just common that they have to get through. I think we're going to see something big happen, though, in this next episode. They're going to make this double episode a good one for whatever reason, whether it be the first vote or the second one. I'm leaning more towards the second one, and like we alluded to before, it could be Joe that's in trouble. So we'll see. We'll see really how it is. I think this is just a matter, though, we need to move it forward because the finale is approaching quickly.
Very quickly. Not a lot of time. Taryn, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I'm sure they try to schedule it out as much as they can, and if they have the option, they're probably going to choose the more boring episodes to squish together as much as possible. I don't think it's always possible, so it's not necessarily a given that they're going to be, kind of pagonging episodes, but I think it's definitely more likely.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. I mean, who knows? Last year we had really, and again, talked about on Survivor Know-It-Alls. The double episode was last year, not last season, but it was on San Juan del Sur, and that was when there was the interesting tribal council where didn't Natalie? She voted for. Who did she vote for? It was Drew or Alec Christie, not Drew Christie. She said that she accidentally voted voted the wrong way. There was that one. So that was a really good double episode. I really enjoyed that. That was some of the best parts of San Juan del Sur. We'll see what happens. I'm going to remain optimistic. I think it'll be good. This has been a great season so far, and I can't imagine it getting too boring going forward. I'm just so pumped that we're getting 2 hours of Survivor next week. I just wish that we had Thanksgiving the next day up here in Canada, like you guys do, Taryn. Like, I'm just gonna go on a thing here, Johnny. Don't you think it's dumb that we have a different Thanksgiving? Like, don't we need to move our Thanksgiving to the same as the States? Like, would that not just be easier for everyone?
I feel like Thanksgiving should be Thanksgiving for everyone. I don't know what this difference is. Now I'm envious of the Americans who are off, and I have to go to work. Seriously.
Yeah. And it's midweek. I mean, like, it's so much better. Like, ours is on a Monday. You guys get Thursday. I don't understand why we don't have. I mean, I know for historical purposes, our harvest season and our crops were finished earlier than yours down in the southern United States because it gets colder up here in Canada. And so that's why they did it then. But I don't know. I mean, now that's not a thing. So why don't we just pick it up and move it over into November? Because that would be pretty sweet.
Who started this thing in Canada?
Thanksgiving? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess figure this out. We need to hunt them down and shame them.
Well, I don't know. Maybe someone from Sir John A. Macdonald's cabinet, the first Prime Minister of Canada. Maybe they came up with that. I have no idea. That's okay. That's what I'm going to do in the Raptor show today. Is I'm going to go look up who started Thanksgiving in Canada and whose decision that was, and then we will send them. We'll tweet at them and we'll be very mad. Okay, let's wrap this up. Last question for today, and this is something that I wanted to talk about earlier. And this one comes from at Fat Tyson Apostle, and Fat Tyson Apostle wants to know, what do you think of next week's preview? So next week we saw the preview. Johnny and I alluded to the really bad storm that we saw. So Stephen was crying again, so that's not too good. Poor Fishbach. But also we saw Jeff Probst saying that the castaways are going to have to make a decision at it looks like the next immunity challenge with 2 rocks. They have a white rock and a black rock. And it seems like it's a big moment, but we're not quite too sure what exactly it is. Johnny, what do you think that could be?
I have no idea. When I saw the preview, and to be honest with you, I just watched the episode literally an hour before this. I knew what happened, but I had just watched. So that was something so exciting. I'm like, what is going on with these rocks? Like, what are they going to do with it? Like, the very reminder of the tiebreaker at Tribal Council type thing, draw the rock.
Of course.
So yes. What is that about? I don't know. Very interesting.
Yeah. Hey, Jorge Hey says in the chat, eat or play. I think that's a pretty good guess.
Oh, maybe. And they made it more exciting than it really is.
Yeah. If that's what it is, I'm going to be really mad.
They just did the advantage. Steven just got that, like, the steal a vote. There's 2 idols in play now. Like they're really going to go for another one?
They might. It's a big season, Taryn. Who knows?
I mean, that's nearing Big Brother Canada 3 territory.
I guess. I mean,
every week.
The difference is the twists are confined to the game and they're not influenced by America. But yes, but yeah, no, I mean, it could be interesting. I don't know, but I guess that would probably make the most sense. The Hey Jorge said,
and like maybe something dramatic happens and somebody sits out who wasn't supposed to sit out, and
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Paul Borges is saying in the chat, my guess is a letter from home or compete.
Right,
That's a good one as well. I was talking to my friend at school. Her name is also Johnny, and she was saying, yeah, that's what I think it's going to be. So who knows? I don't know what exactly we're going to see, but I hope it's good because I like this. This is fun. I'm very excited to see what exactly it is. And we didn't get a ton from that preview, or sorry, we didn't get a ton from the preview, considering that it's a 2-hour episode next week. So hopefully they're holding back all the good stuff for us to actually see in the episode. But the advantage in the game preview from last week, that blew my expectations out of the water when the actual episode aired. So we'll see. Maybe my expectations are now, they're just raised too high, and now I'm just going to get disappointed with everything. But should be exciting. Very, really looking forward to it. But Taryn, I'm going to let you go, my friend. I will feel free to hop back on in the RHAPter show, and we can chat some more then, talk about Thanksgiving and various other things. But until then, we will talk to you later, man. Thank you for joining us today.
It was a pleasure.
All right. Yeah. Take care, Taryn. So there goes the closer, Taryn Armstrong. Really, I mean, honestly, I might as well, Johnny, might as well just make Taryn my co-host at this point, because I think this has been 4 or 5 episodes in a row where Taryn has come on in like the second hour on from the show, and it's been really good. Taryn's
really good, and kudos to you, Taryn. You're quite amazing in your questions, and you really there were opportunities that you had to make me really think about what I had just said and really question it, and that's good. JP, you're very much the same. So
well, thank you, Johnny. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You guys are both great.
Thank you. Well, and now on second thought, I'm thinking, maybe Taryn's too good and he's going to outshine me on my own podcast, and I can't have that happen. So maybe I need to rethink that a little bit. But Johnny, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people follow you, find your stuff, and keep up to date with what you're up to?
Absolutely. So my Twitter is J Colatruglio, my last name, just like you see it in here. Feel free to follow me. I have been
and Johnny is Johnny is frozen. Johnny has been a little quiet, and that's because he is frozen his feed. So hold on one sec. Johnny is out of there. What a great way to end that sentence is what Hey Jorge Hey says. Hashtag defrost Johnny. That's what Mitch Rich is saying. So Johnny, I'm gonna sit tight and let Johnny actually close this thing off, because I would like Johnny to actually give his own send off to the show. But before that, let me just give you just a little bit of housekeeping before we wrap things up today. I just want to give a huge shout out to everybody who has donated to my Reality Rally campaign. We've been raising money for breast cancer research and awareness for Michelle's Place. So I just passed the $500 mark this week. So that was my goal. So thank you guys to everyone who took part in that. I did a ton of Skype calls leading up to that. I am no longer able to do that contractually. I've had some discussions with the executive producers of Big Brother Canada. We don't need to get into that kind of stuff, but I'm not allowed to do that anymore. So apologies if you wanted to get a Skype call in, but to all of you who did have a Skype call with me, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciated the donation and all that stuff. So I can't, I'll list off the names at the top of or at the end of the show for you guys. But thank you very much. But Johnny, you were saying things are getting quiet for you.
Yeah, things were quiet, a little bit quiet on Twitter for me. I've been really busy in my real life. Things have been crazy. However, don't worry, things will pick back up again. And I said, heading into the new year with BB Can 4 coming, there's going to be a lot more activity on there. So stay tuned.
I'm very excited to see your thoughts on BB Can 4, Johnny. Should be very good. And I'm sure you're going to be back on the podcast again at some point if you're up for it, because you are one of my favorite guests. You actually, just so you know, you have tied Kevin Martin for the record for the most appearances on the RHAPpy Hour. So, well, actually, sorry, scratch that. Taryn probably has the record. but you, of people like the guest that I have started the show with, you have tied the record with Kevin. So awesome. You are in good company, my friend, with Kevy Wevy.
Love my Kevy Wevy. Oh, boy.
We all do. Okay, so go follow Johnny. He's at J Colatruglio on Twitter. So for the hashtag for this episode, Johnny, we need a hashtag for people to tweet us and let us know what we thought about the episode, or what they thought about this episode of the RHAPpy Hour. So I was thinking, nothing really came to mind for me. Somebody said hashtag defrost Johnny. I think that is pretty funny because you froze at that last point. And then you bounced out a few times because of the connection, and apologies for that. And for those of you listening, sorry about that. But it's what happens sometimes when you're doing a thing over the internet and not in person. But I was thinking that, We could also do hashtag some sort of Thanksgiving thing, because we mentioned the Thanksgiving and how we don't like our Thanksgiving. Abby Maria should win the game, is what Tyler Kakuno was saying. Should we say Abby for the win? That might be a good one.
Oh boy.
And Tyler Kakuno's in the chat and he's saying, yes, in all caps is what he's saying. Taryn Armstrong says, oh no. I don't know. I think we might have to go with hashtag Abby for the win if we don't get anything. John is saying hashtag get over it. I don't know. Oh, there you go. There we go. Ashley's saying hashtag fish can swim. Hey Jorge, hey, hashtag change Canadian Thanksgiving. That actually might be good, because then we can start a campaign, Johnny.
Oh, okay, yeah, I like the campaign thing.
Maybe if Donald Trump becomes president, he'll become so powerful, then he can just make us use his Thanksgiving, and it'll be great. And then, we will be the first people to start this campaign. I feel like that's probably not a hashtag. I'll check it afterwards, but I'm liking it. It's a long hashtag. Let's use it. So hashtag change Canadian Thanksgiving is what we're going to go for today. But thank you to all of you guys in the chat who checked this one out and are listening in the audio archives on robhasawebsite.com and on iTunes. Apologies. I was scheduled to have Alec Beal on the show, but Alec is busy. He's got a lot of stuff coming up with his PhD candidacy that's going on, so that's why he could not make it. But next week, I have scheduled a guest, but I'm not going to announce it because I don't want to announce it and then have them not cancel on me again. So we have a guest that's probably going to be on Blab, and it will be this upcoming Saturday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, as always, and we'll be live taking your questions. Should be a lot of fun, as it was today. But thank you guys so much for joining me today. Thank you to everybody who donated for the Skype calls. Quickly, let me just get the full names of that, because I feel like you guys deserve a proper hashtag Propa shout out on the show for doing that. So Leah Duncan, Ryan Ordonez, Brenton Melnovsky. We also had Justin Holcomb, Daphne Andrews, Colleen Daniels. We also had, let's see, last page here, and it's not loading for me. Oh no, this is not good. So what happens when you don't prepare the names before you're actually going to read them out in the air, Johnny? Yeah, it's not working for me. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. I also had I had Ryan. I can't remember Ryan's last name. At Rotten Rye on Twitter. Ryan was great. I talked to him. I talked to Wes Sutton. Wes was great. Talked to Marissa Ibarra. Lots of really good people. If I forgot your name, I'm so terribly sorry. But thank you for donating. Really means a lot to me, and it's going to a really good cause. So thank you. And if you want to keep donating to people who are going to Reality Rally, Johnny, you might be going yourself, right?
I am. I think I am. I'm going to get something up and running in the next week or so. Just got to get everything sorted out with work first, but it's looking like I'm going to be there. So
perfect. So there we go. So Johnny and I will be hanging out there. So I just knocked over my microphone for those of you watching this live.
I'm getting excited.
I get a little too excited because Johnny is going to be joining me at Reality Rally. But yeah, so if you want to donate, help some people out, donate to Johnny's campaign. Keep an eye out for that. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us today. Check out the After Show. I will still be on here for probably another 30 minutes or so talking to you guys, taking your questions. So definitely check that out. For Johnny Colatruglio, I'm Jordan Parhar. Hashtag change Canadian Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.